Ryland Brown asked us how we made our Lego Beyblade Stadium. I'll give the reasons in a moment why we decided just to show footage of it instead of building it, but right now I'll let you know what pieces we used. We used 2 green panels, 42 slanted 3x1s, 14 flat 2x2s for the bottom part, 43 slanted 3x2s, 80 slanted 2x1s, 91 slanted 2x2s. We used 38 slanted 2x4s, 9 slanted 3x4s, 6 8x1s, 8 6x1s, 6 4x1s, 26 8x2s, 17 6x2s, 5 10x2s, 83 2x2s, 190 2x3s, 192 2x4s, 16 flat pieces, and 2 slanted 3x6 plus a cast of characters who are going to end up watching it in the end. Sorry, I was a little bit off sync with that. My cat jumped up onto the back of my chair. If you heard that little whoo noise, that's what was going on there. Anyway, okay, it took a very long time to build it, and it took me about an hour to take it apart yesterday, little by little. I decided that what I was going to do was just film myself taking it apart and then reverse the footage so you get an idea of what's going on. Most of this is going to be sped up because it becomes very repetitive after we get going. There'll be spots where it's slowed down to a regular speed like this because I have a reason for it. And this is basically to show how we get started. I had made a smaller Beyblade Stadium, but it had a wider floor, I guess, than this. And what ended up happening is the Beyblades ended up just kind of getting in, like migrating down to the floor and stayed there without really a whole lot of action. They just they'd bump a little bit, but they had enough room to stay away from each other, so they would. So we had to go with a tighter floor, and as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm starting off by building 4 ramps on either side. The reason why I did this was because that way wherever you're dropping the Beyblade from on these 4 angles, they're going to swoop in towards that middle. After a little bit, you're going to see that on the corners I'm going to be leaving them open because I wanted to have like side outs for them to get knocked into. When I was building this in the first place, I didn't have a plan as to how to do it. My original idea was that I was going with this 4 ramp. I was going to expand out the ramps a bit to make more room for them to kind of bounce around inside. And the outside walls, or not the outside walls, the outside platforms were where I was going to put the various people that I was going to have watching it. But as we got going, I started recognizing that that wasn't really going to work very well. Yeah, it's really weird watching this go really fast. But anyway, as you can see, I'm still building up the base part of it there with the 4 ramps. And the 4 ramps I'm going with the kind of like 3x1s, 3x2s, and 3x4s, like just so that it's smoother at the bottom. Like as we get building up higher, I'm going to change from those slanted pieces, like the ones that are a bit more gentle slope, to the ones that are more of an abrupt slope, because I wanted to make sure that they were, if it bounced onto the side, it was coming straight back into it. And I thought the gentle ones, they might have lost some of that bounce that they would get. I'm sure I've either already had a link to the Lego video by now, or I'm going to pop it up a couple times so you can see some of the action. The reason why we only showed the action in the Lego Beyblade Stadium that I made at first had to do with the idea that we'd already made a few different Beyblade Stadiums. The one previous to this one that I had made was the one we called the Chrome Dome Beyblade Stadium, where we built a Beyblade Stadium to fit my head, which I'm sure, since I'm mentioning it, I'll have a link up there for it. But what ended up happening was, instead of recognizing it was a how-to video, and we showed a little clip of what went on, then I went to show how we ended up building this one by the painstaking process of cutting the plastic, which is interesting if you're going to build it, but it just looked boring to me. So after we looked at the video and saw that the best part was near the end, where you're getting to see all of the action that was happening, we thought with the Lego one that would be a more interesting video if we just showed the really cool battles we got. And this Lego Stadium actually did a lot better than I expected it to. Like we got some really cool shots there. And then, of course, the third comment we got, or the first comment we got after just the third view, was from Ryland Brown, who said, "Yeah, but I wanted to know how to make this." So I was like, okay, well, we'll have to do that then. As you can see, I'm pointing out that I'm still working at the the 4 ramp system, and I'm just kind of building up the platforms on the outside. Anyway, so instead of rebuilding it all with all of its little imperfections that were caused by my not exactly having a plan as to how I was building this and just kind of winging it as I was going, because it wouldn't have ended up being the same, I thought if I just take it apart, reverse the video, you got this look here so you get an idea. So we're still working right now with the, like I said, the kind of gentler sloped ramps in there. And we're about to get to a point, I think you're starting to see, if you look at the corners, where I'm going to be leaving blanks there so we can start building side outs. I had the total amount of pieces that we ended up using for this was 1,257. But as you can see, it's a time-lapse video, so it's not like you're going to get a full description of what goes on. But I don't think you really want to build one identically to this, because even though it worked really well, it had a lot of flaws. And if I would have thought about what I was doing, I'm not sure what I'm trying to demonstrate here. I'm probably just trying to point where I ended up making mistakes. As I was taking it apart, I started noticing that there was gaps and stuff like that, because I'd have one idea and go into another. But basically, if you want a really good Lego Beyblade stadium that works, you want to have a small flat area. You can't just use the regular Lego pieces because they've got the bumps on the top. So you have to get those ones that usually come in, I guess, the space packs and other little specialty ones. They certainly don't seem to come into the big boxes that you can get that are a little bit cheaper, and I wish they would. Because I would have built, if I had more, I probably would have built a few different layers of it so that they could battle at a couple different platforms, and that would be really cool. But anyway, what we're showing here is the basics of what was going on with it. The side platforms there, like I said, at one point was going to end up being like staging for people to watch, but as I got going I started realizing I was going to end up needing that, because it had to have a strong support at the sides, or else the Beyblades might hit it and knock it off. So that ended up being really good. Now I'm showing that I'm transferring from the 3x1 type slanted ones to the 2x1 slanted, and the 2x2s and the 2x4s. The reason why I ended up using so many different pieces instead of going with more like 2x4s and 2x2s and stuff like that, or sorry, why I was using more 2x2s instead of like 2x4s, usually was more of a product of just what I had on hand, and the fact that I didn't know how big it was, and I was just digging through the Lego box trying to find whatever I needed, and all of a sudden I think I was having to use like the 2x3s that come with new cache of 2x4s. So when I was listing all the pieces that were needed, you don't really need those exact amounts to do it, but it was more of the idea just showing what I used, and so you get an idea of what the surface area of everything was. The floor, I believe it was 16 by 12 by way of like little knobby things at the top. The inside of the ramp, I believe, was more like the 20 by 22, and then at the top, when I start, just in case I forget to say this later, when I get to show the staging around, like the very final thing at the very top of the arena, at the top of the walls, ended up being 42 by 40 of those little bumpy things. Anyway, as you're going to see, there's some imperfections, like that gray thing sticking out, and I think there's going to be another one that's going to be, yeah, another gray one just popped in there, sticking out. That was just because of, like, in order to make Lego structures strong, you have to do some overlapping. So by doing that, I ended up coming across and realizing, oh, I got to stick in little 1x somethings in there, and those were the first ones I grabbed. It took me probably, mainly because I didn't have an idea of what, okay, I've slowed down just to show where I am now. I'm at the final part now. I'm starting to build up. Something had fallen off there, so I just had to stick it back on. But of course, this is time lapsed in reverse, so it'll probably just pop up, there we go, on its own. Yeah, it took me, I believe, I'm not sure until I started one night working on it, and just kind of, I'd have to stop and look at it and figure out what I was doing and keep going. But I believe in total it took me about 4.5 hours to build it. Not because it was that complicated, but just because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I'd have to stop and look and try to change my philosophy on what I was doing to build it. Taking it apart, like one piece by one piece, instead of just breaking it all down, ended up taking, thought I edited my head sticking in, but anyway, Ended up taking me, I think it was like 53 minutes to do the, and then afterwards, like, thankfully there was a long baseball game last night between the Yankees and the Red Sox. Unfortunately, the Red Sox won, but like it ended up making the time go faster because I used that time to sit and sort out all of the blocks by color and size and all that, so I could itemize them, so I could give an idea of how many blocks went into building this. Okay, now I'm counting the outer edges here. This is where I believe that 2 of the sides are 20s and the other side is the 24 or 22 or something like that. I think that's what it is, because I don't think it's until they get to the top of the staging that it becomes the 42 by 44. Okay, as you can see, the side pockets are well defined there now. I'm showing that I'm done with all of the. I'm completely done now with all of the 4 by or the 3 by 1 type slanted pieces. I had, I think, another row higher than the others, like just in the centers, like just that was still like that, even though I was moving on with the 2 by 1s. Anyway, so I'm still working on the staging around, but leaving room for making the having the side outs. This is a long video to be talking about building Lego. Okay, I'm probably pointing some more imperfections there. By the way, if anybody else has any kind of Lego Beyblade Stadium, I'd love to see it, and I'd especially love to hear what your reason was for doing what you did and how everything worked, because even though this took a fair bit of time, now that I know what I'm doing, I might try to build another one and try to have it look better. Now I'm showing now it's got the bigger slopes on the sides there, like with the idea that the Beyblades doing that little hand swoop to show that I'd like the everything to kind of clash as it comes down, which it does brilliantly in the video. And but I've still got the side pockets there. So now I'm starting to work on the top walls there for the edging. The reason why I slowed this down is just to show the mismatch of parts I was using to make the connectors between, so that we still had the holes for the side outs. My computer isn't working the best, so I'm not sure how much time's left in the video. So before I get to the end of the video, which should be coming up at some point soon, I just want to mention that if you've enjoyed this, like it or comment. If you didn't enjoy it, please comment too. Or if you can think of better ways of doing this, I'd love to hear them, honestly. Like I love Lego, and Beyblading is fun, and this turned out really well. So I'd love to have a Beyblade Stadium that even turned out better. And then like I said, I'd love to see what everybody else's. If anybody else has done this, or if they've tried to build one like mine, I'd love to see how it turned out. So, but yeah, gotta say like it if you like it, comment for whatever reasons. I'd love to see video comments to see what other people's videos ended up looking like. There's me counting the outer edges to see that it was 42 by 40. Yeah, 42 by 40. I probably would have made it more symmetrical if I knew what I was doing from the start. But you never know. I'm not the most brilliant person in the world. And if you like this sort of stuff, we do other stuff, of course, besides Beyblading on this channel, but we do a lot of Beyblade stuff on it. So if you like that sort of thing, like, or if you like anything else we're doing, like, feel free to subscribe, because subscribing is fun. And hopefully, if we can make real money at this, I can get a new computer so that I don't have the problems of the computer shutting down while I'm doing video editing, which happens a lot. Anyway, as you can see, I'm building the platforms. After I get the 4th one, it'll kind of show the structure on that. I slowed it down so you see all of this is really simple. It was just time consuming, but like I said, if you watch the video of what actually happens, it seems worth it, like with the action you get. Okay, this is just the platforms. These are just 2x2s stacked 5 high. There's going to be just some cross beams going across. The platforms that are going to go meet, I'm probably going to show what they look like there. There's some of the beams. Neither of them are the same because I only had so many long flat pieces like that, and I was just kind of making it up as I went along. But they're going to form the structure that are going to hold our Star Wars characters, especially Boga, the big guy that ends up falling down. And also, as you watch the video of the actual Beyblade battles, you see why it was so good to have such a strong structure to the outside edges, like the platforms building up, because these little platforms on the top are flimsy, and they get knocked down a couple times in the battle. So, but then again, it made for some neat shots watching things collapse. I'm about running out of time. We're going to see everybody kind of get loaded up here. Boga. And there we go. Anyway, years of Lego built up into a Lego stadium. Anyway, enjoy. Have a good day.